What is happening, guys? Welcome back to another video on Stump Station. Today we're with strength conditioning coach William Wayland. He's worked with professional athletes in golf, MMA, UFC, powerlifting now. It's amazing to hear some of the athletes he's worked with. We'll be going through that a bit later on. Welcome aboard. We've known each other a while and it's good to catch up.
It is great to catch up.
When did you start working with professional athletes? Someone that has the prospect and dream of being a professional athlete.
It was probably at university because to get through university, I worked as a personal trainer at a Fitness First a long time ago. I was approached by a professional basketball player who also played for Scotland. He was of Polish descent, Marek Palak, I think his name was. It was at that point, I leapt at the chance because here's someone who is, I think he was kind of midway through his career, and he went on to have a great season that season after working with me. And it was just how delighted he was to be able to because he felt like he was perhaps coming on a bit of a downswing. The way I looked at it was just his physical preparation wasn't good enough. And just seeing him be happy about the fact he could still play to a standard he expected of himself kind of motivated me to think maybe there is a career in this. But I've always known, since I used to indulge in physical preparation for myself, because obviously as I come into combat sports, I've always seen physical preparation as a way to ascend yourself and achieve a higher level. And I've always known that I've kind of wanted to help people with that. But yeah, that first professional athlete, pretty sure that was Marek. Yeah, and he used to play basketball in Poland and also play nationally for Scotland, I believe it was. And that was kind of the first guy, where I was like, well, it's my first kind of pro athlete client. Like maybe I could get more clients like this. And that was a long time ago, maybe nearly 20 years ago. Yeah,
so you've been doing this with professional athletes, so 2 decades.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
With your career, like I've seen you, when I started the gym, having a few athletes in the mixed martial arts field, and I saw you, I remember helping you with the young golfers, and that was when you first, I remember helping you with that.
Yep.
And that was probably where golf started for you.
Yeah. So one of my friends, now friends I'd say, was looking for a good strength and conditioning coach in the area. And obviously my background was largely combat sports, but as far as he was concerned, a good strength and conditioning coach is a good strength and conditioning coach. And you should be able to adapt to any sport, provided you understand their needs. And he wanted to set up a junior youth S&C program specifically for golf, which is a niche within a niche that's like very underserved, because golf fitness and golf strength and conditioning is still not quite where it needs to be. It's getting there, it's getting better, and the types of athletes we're producing are getting better. And we've had juniors from that who started with us at 11 years old, and now I can think of a handful now that are in the US playing college.
Wow.
It's just surprising how quickly the time goes. But all those guys are outstanding athletes, and they're probably going to be outstanding golfers. And the ones that really, and it comes as no surprise that the ones who really stuck with us are the ones who are now potentially on the cusp of that professional golf dream. And that ties into the idea of self-efficacy. I don't know if that's something you can teach, but these guys would execute and were interested and involved from the age of 11. And they never lost that.
Do you think all young athletes that have, at 11, you don't know how good you're going to be?
No.
But do you think anyone at that young age, if they started a strength conditioning program with a good coach, yourself or anyone, what do you think the impact on their likelihood of becoming professional, like what could that actually happen to them? Do you think that that's more possibility of them making pro? Do you think that changes a lot into their physiological body to make them better? Do you think they should start that young?
I always come at it with this idea. If I get juniors in and I can really help with their relationship with exercise, strength and conditioning aside, if I can help them build a good relationship with exercise and with the gym, even if they don't make it as a professional, I still want them to be comfortable in this environment and want them to carry habits and things they've learned on into their later life. Even if they don't make it as a pro athlete, I want them to have a good relationship with physical training. And you meet a lot of athletes sometimes who have bad relationships with physical training because they see it almost as like punitive. They see it as something that they kind of almost have to do, not something that they want to do. And I want to change that narrative and have it as something that these guys feel that they can integrate into their lives for the rest of their lives. I've always come at it that way. Now, I am of the opinion that if you do get involved with this stuff younger, I feel that it helps give you a level of what we call physical literacy. Your ability to problem solve in all types of physical tasks is broadened by having a good level of general physical education, which is something now we lack probably in schools. Phys ed isn't what it used to be, but I find that the guys that take to the strength and conditioning, throw themselves into every task we give them, are the ones that end up being good problem solvers. So I feel it definitely has a role in that regard.
I feel like when I was younger, my mum especially used to be like, oh, you shouldn't lift weights so young, you know, it's going to stunt your growth, and all these stereotypical things that we are told when we're younger. So I didn't lift weights until I was 17 just because of that.
Yeah.
What would you say, like I've seen it, but what would you say to anyone listening that wants their kids to lift weights at a younger age, and how it's really not that bad as what it's told?
No, so all the present research seems to indicate that it's nothing but beneficial from a learning standpoint, from a coordination standpoint, from a social standpoint, also from a physical robustness standpoint. Kids that do strength and conditioning are probably less likely to hurt. Kids that do strength and conditioning are more likely to then have skills that are transferable to then playing them sport. And if they're less injured, they're less hurt, they're more available, they can practice more, they can play more, so the potential for them to raise their skill ceiling is greater because they're not taking time out due to injury. And we know that, you know, availability is probably more important than anything else. Yes, you can improve strength and power and stuff, but if you're uninjured, that's great because you can play more, you can practice more. And I think that's something that makes a big difference to a lot of youth athletes. So I still meet parents now, especially because I work in golf. And golf, some of the attitudes parents have are a little bit outdated. You know, a lot of them still believe in the ideas traditionally that, you know, lifting weights will stunt growth or fuse growth plates, or, you know, hurt feel when it comes to the swing on the ball, hurt their touch. But we know that none of that's true. That you know, these athletes, particularly the young ones, when we've taken them through strength training regimens, their club head speed gets better, their ability to boost speed with the club gets better, their ability just to perform gets better, and their availability gets better. So, you know, there are so many upsides and so few downsides. If someone's getting hurt or if someone's getting not what they need out of their program, it's usually either something's up with the program or something's up with the coach. Because most of the time, it's a net positive almost all of the time.
And I agree, and I feel like as long as if you've got a good coach that not just knows what he's doing, but is good with kids, you know, then they're going to be perfectly fine to learn and grow. And I remember when we were doing the golf, well, 8 years ago now, I think, with the kids, we would literally get them to use pipes, training bars, and after 2-3 weeks, some of them added weight, some of them didn't, until they're at that, I want to say, positional level where you're like, do you know what, you're moving good, you know, your efficiency is good, it's fine to move. And I think that's one thing that parents need to realize, is that if you want your kid to be a good athlete, or you want your kid to just be in sports, or you want your kid to learn some great physical exercise, get them into a gym with a good coach, regardless of what their goal is, and they're going to learn so much more. And there was a podcast I saw with, I think, Chris Williamson, I think he did one with C-Bum ages ago, and he said kids that get into physical education younger in sports, like you said, they're better at problem solving when they're older, they're more likely going to not be scared of failure, and they're more likely going to get outside their comfort zone with regards to work. The likelihood of this being a bad thing, even if they don't like sports, is so little over the massive benefits they can get, you know? Your gym, Powering Through. By the way, if you've made it this far, do subscribe, by the way. In Chelmsford, probably the base of powerlifting right now. And we've just had videos of this young Joshua kid who's going to European champs. You've done competitions here. And I think this seems like the base to go for that right now. And this is what it seems like. So what is your goals with the gym in the next 5 years? What would you love to see your baby, if you will, blossom into?
We've always pitched it to the idea that bringing strength and conditioning to ordinary people, you can compete that CrossFit style session. That's for some people. You could double down and be an Olympic weightlifting gym. Historically not so profitable. What we noticed was a trend that powerlifting, particularly among youth populations, in the UK become very, very popular. We're like, well, there's a niche here. People potentially being underserved. So what we would like to do is make sure that this gym expands further, so we could take on another unit hopefully, or an even bigger unit somewhere in the future. Cater on an even greater level to powerlifters that we already do. The other thing, maybe at some point a second unit somewhere would be another second gym, maybe, if we keep growing the way that we're growing. Fundamentally what we found is there's this niche of the strength and conditioning lifestyle, not bodybuilding, not powerlifting, not any of those things. There's a desire for like a middle ground where people want to be fit and strong, but do it in a very measured fashion. Because what you generally see is that fitness quite often occupies extremes. People identify as one thing. Yeah, I'm a bodybuilder, I'm a powerlifter, I'm a CrossFitter, I'm an Olympic weightlifter. Why does it have to be like that? Ideally, what I want is an environment where those things can kind of come together, coalesce into something meaningful, rather than this sort of tribalism that we see at the moment. Obviously, increased profitability would be great because at the end of the day, it's a business.
Yeah, of course.
I run a business. People forget that it's not a free for all. I run a business. Like, you know, COVID was hard on gyms, and we're still now only starting to not feel the ripples of that. It's only been a little while since we had to close for nearly 8 months. People forget that.
It's a long time.
It's a very long time. So we're looking to come back from that. But fundamentally, you know, if we can keep expanding what we're doing, keep offering a sort of quality training product that we currently offer, and expand that out to as many people as possible, which is why we're looking to expand, you know, what we do online and offer more of that to people, because we feel that, you know, there's a sweet spot there for people who can, you know, don't want to occupy any one of those particular niches. But that said, you know, powerlifting has served us very well as a niche. And the other aim that I'd like to look towards is to turn us into, you know, a golf, not strength and conditioning hotspot. We already have a great reputation, but I feel that golf is still very underserved from a strength training standpoint. And I want to make the distinction between what we do and golf fitness. You know, we take an objective, rational, outcome-oriented approach to our golf physical training. We're not there to make money, you know, doing movement screens or selling you adjunct therapies or things like that. We're about meaningful outcomes, and we want to really bring that into the sort of golf strength and conditioning and golf fitness space. I know there's a couple of different things going on there, but you know, if we can expand and keep growing what we're currently doing, that would be wicked. But you know, the way gym businesses run, it's always hard work, because people don't see a lot of what goes on behind the scenes. They don't see the overheads. They don't see all that type of stuff. And which is why on the side of what I'm doing at the moment, I'm also running a mentorship to help like new gym owners and guys looking to get into that part of the industry. Basically, the biggest thing is to give them a big reality check.
Yes.
Because a lot of people love the idea of opening a gym. They don't see all the hard work and back end stuff that goes into opening a gym.
I agree. And actually, one of my biggest dreams when we started working together, and when I went to Saudi, I was like, I want to come back with money, open a gym. And I looked at quite a lot of logistics, and I was like, I don't want to do that. No. It's a lot more. It's not just, oh, this is my gym, I do classes and I coach, this is fun. That's great, but people don't see the backside, you know, counting the money, looking at your websites, you know, looking at how you're going to get advertisement and people in. There's so many other factors, so many more, but when you think of it like as a whole, you're like, wait, do I really want to do that? And that's when I was like, maybe I don't want to own a gym. I just like living in a gym.
People like the idea of owning a gym, but not the reality of owning a gym when it comes to it, which is why so many people open gyms and then they end up disappearing after 6 months, a year, because the reality of running and owning a gym is very different to what people think. I just get to hang out at the gym all day and I get to lift from time to time and hang out with my friends, you know, but it isn't like that. You know, the reality isn't like that. We can't all be a Bradley Martin.
Yeah, true.
It seems like you're having a good time. I'm sure there's a lot of work that goes into it, but you know, it's not a straightforward thing, which is why when people ask me, should I open a gym? My first answer is always no. If they come to me again and say, should I open a gym? My second answer is no. And if they come to me usually another time, it means that they're perhaps tough enough and stubborn enough to maybe then open a gym.
Yeah.
But my advice to most people is at first, always look at, renting space, seeing if that environment's for you, talking to gym owners and figuring out, if there's a niche or if there's a way you can perhaps do something different in the gym space. Because if people want to pay 20, 30 pounds, I can tell you there's a place that's a couple of stories big with tons of equipment that other people will want to join. What is it you're trying to do differently that makes running and owning a gym viable?
I agree, and I feel like that's the idea in any business, right? You got to ask yourself, what value am I adding? What makes me different? And what can I add that no one else is adding to people? And you got to think of it like that when opening in a gym over, I want my own gym. And I think that's the hardest thing that people need to realize.
You want your own gym? Open one in your garage.
Yeah, true. You are a very educated man. I would probably say the smartest person in the S&C fitness world.
Don't say that.
The reason why that I've met. There's people online that are doing great
there
things.
are people way smarter than me.
But speaking one-on-one when I speak to you, you're honest and you're like, I don't know enough about that. I need to do research on that. Or you even said with the golf was very new and you had to do a bit more research on that. Like you knew the movements and everything and programming, but everything else is different. So
the culture as well.
Exactly. So you're very educated. What would you say, what are 3 or 5 books that you would recommend, or 3 or 5 courses even, that you would recommend to anyone that wants to be a fitness coach, personal trainer, or an S&C?
I'm going to plug one of my friends. It'll be Strength Coach Network. Keir has recently sold to Justin Lima. So if Justin's watching this, shout out to you. Strength Coach Network Fundamentals course, parts 1 and 2. Easily the best strength and conditioning courses that I can recommend if you're interested in strength and conditioning. Easily the 2 best courses, because they don't actually only approach the subject matter of sets, reps, speed. They also approach the concept of critical thinking and problem solving, which are 2 big things people don't appreciate perhaps in our field. From a small personal standpoint, a favorite book of mine, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, which is a book written by Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, a well-known philosopher, king, a Stoic. And what's interesting about his writings, because Meditations was never meant to be read by anyone. It was like his own diary. And when you read it, particularly a good translation, you then learn that, hey, this guy's ruler of the largest empire the world has ever known, yet he's suffering with the same worries and day-to-day stresses that most of us are dealing with. In that respect, it makes you feel slightly less alone. But then the other thing that's really useful, a lot of great pieces on him trying to motivate himself. There's a great element, for instance, where he talks about, is all I'm made for just to lie in bed and be comfortable? It's no, I've got to get up. I've got to face the world. I've got things to do. Other bits and pieces, living in a fashion that means you're staying true to yourself, which is, I think, where a lot of people suffer personally, is they're perhaps doing and saying things they don't believe and they don't mean. And that will rot your soul. And something he talks about is trying to behave and act in a fashion that's true to what you really honestly believe. So Marcus Aurelius Meditations. Another good training book that I recommend to everybody is Mladen Jovanović's Strength Training Manual, Volume 1 and 2. It comes as one really thick book. Here's a guy who grew up in communist Yugoslavia, which he then saw collapse, obviously then civil war, and this worldliness that Mladen has gained from that experience comes through in his writing. So it's not a normal strength and conditioning book. The guy is all about being pragmatic and realistic and brings sports science from its lofty university heights and brings it down to you, the normal strength coach, training people in normal gyms, taking this high-minded sports science information, being practical with it, and then applying it in a fashion that helps your athletes. So I recommend Mladen Jovanović's Strength Training Manual, Volume 1 and 2 as well. Those are 2 other things I recommend. And there's another very short book, will be my 4th one that I recommend, by Viziandre. That book is called, I can't remember the title now, it's totally escaped me. I'd have to look it up. Can we edit it? Can you edit this?
I will find it and then we'll put it in.
I can't remember the name.
It's okay, don't worry, we'll put it in.
Or you can cut this out. So,
No, we'll keep it in.
Okay,
because it's a good book. If it's a good book,
it
you guys
is
like
a good
it.
book, but it's very good. But Vizzy Andre, I did one of his courses a long time ago. Very, very short book, but it's got a useful sort of life advice about ways to act in the world, what to do if you meet people who are thinkers but not doers, but then how to deal with people who are just doers and not thinkers. Economy of Truth.
Economy of Truth. Yeah.
The Economy of Truth. A really, really good book. And the guy, he's from Romania, so again, there's a very different perspective on life. I found that book sort of very engaging, and because it's a very short read, I occasionally pick it up and reread it. So
nice.
yeah.
Well, they're the books and the courses. So for any coach out there that wants to develop themselves in any way, that wants something different to their normal niche, there you go. I'm just going to end it with some fun questions. I'm going to name a athlete, not an athlete, but a style of athlete.
Yep.
And you can name one word or one sentence to describe them. A CrossFit athlete.
Multi-talented.
I'm surprised. Hybrid athlete.
Indecisive.
Yeah. Powerlifter.
Stiff.
Weightlifter.
Dogmatic.
UFC fighter. What are you going to say?
Courageous.
Golfer.
Technical.
YouTube boxer. I think that might say it all, really. So.
Can I use 2 words?
Yes.
Self-promoter.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
Guys, I hope you liked the video. Make sure you subscribe. Will's social is going to be down below. If you are a coach, if you are someone that wants to learn S&C and you want to be more sports specific, he posts so many great videos. And I'd love to send your videos to other coaches in those niches because they can learn so much. So if you've made it this far, subscribe. Check out Will's socials. Thank you very much for being on.
My pleasure.
Hopefully you enjoyed the video.